What's going on, everybody? You are now tuned in to the Triple M podcast, and we are out in, what area is this?
Chinook. Where is this? Calgary, Alberta.
We're in
By
Calgary.
Chinook Mall.
By Chinook Mall. Chinook Station.
Yeah, we're literally a street.
Straight.
Yeah,
straight
we're just straight away from the mall.
Yeah. So wherever that is.
So wherever that is, that's where we are. And we have a very special guest. Thank you, Coach, for welcoming us in your amazing area. Like, I was shocked when I walked in here. I'm like, I need to see where you film all your stuff. Today, we got Coach Kenny Dusseault. He has over a decade of coaching experience and has helped many athletes in the combat sports scene reach their highest potential. He's not just about making better fighters. He's all about making well-rounded athletes, stronger in both body and mind. So we're super pumped to have you on the Triple M podcast, Kenny Dusseault.
Man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome, Coach.
It's gonna be a good time because, like, we have a lot of questions. A lot of questions about strength.
That's why we asked you. That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why you're here, right? Well, we need to debunk a lot of things.
Dude, I'm all for it. Let's go.
A few weeks ago, we had a little discussion. We wanted to know a little bit more about you. You started powerlifting at an early age.
Yes, sir. 15 when I was in high school.
15 years old. And who got you into it? Was it just like you just wanted to start powerlifting, or?
So every sport I played, I was always basically told, like, you're not very good, but you're very strong.
There you go.
And then when I was in grade, I believe it was 10, we had an Olympic weightlifting coach come into our gym class and to just teach for the day. I don't know how it got connected or whatever, but he picked me and 2 other students out, and he was like, you guys have a lot of potential. You need to come train at my gym. And so I started going to this guy's gym to train, and I was doing Olympic weightlifting before, and I just dealt with some issues with my shoulders and things like that. So it's like getting weights up overhead was never easy. But then that transitioned into powerlifting, which, was just, hey, pick that weight up and then add more weight to it and pick it up again, and didn't require much coordination. So that was right up my alley.
I found my
Learn your strength.
Yeah.
Exactly. Learn your strengths. Pick up heavy things and then do it again. That was it.
What kind of shoulder injury did you have? Did you have like a rotator cuff, dislocated shoulder? Or?
Honestly, like, one, I think I partially dislocated playing hockey, but it was never, like, I never properly fixed it.
Yeah.
And other than that, they've just always kind of been tight. Like, I've never had really good range of motion in them or anything. So I work at it. I didn't work at it as much back then, but I work at it a lot more now.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it was just powerlifting. You never have to put it above your head. It's a squat, a bench, and a deadlift.
That's
so
true.
It just worked really well for me. There was no major range of motion required, literally just strength. And at the time I was like, man, this is fun. Like,
Why not, right? With Olympic style lifting, is that like snatches and
snatch,
that stuff?
Jerk, yeah.
Oh, damn. That's the kind of stuff that like a lot of boxers should be doing.
Yeah, explosive stuff like that's good. I don't do a lot of it with my athletes, and we can get into more of that stuff as well. But the reason is more just it's very, very technical, right?
That's
so
true.
Like
you can't really mess up.
Yeah,
right?
And it's like the amount of time it takes to teach the technique, you can get the explosive power that you need in other ways, right? So it's always just like better results in less time is what we're always looking for, right?
So with your journey with powerlifting, so that was back at the ripe age of 15.
Oh, yeah.
How long did you do that for? Was it for like
Probably 7 or 8 years.
7, 8
Pretty
years?
consistently, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that opened up a whole bunch of other doors for you, hey?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing it opened up was the love of coaching. Like, I always knew I wanted to be around athletes. I always knew that, like, it was super fun. And if I could make a living doing something that was super fun, why not, right?
True. So at that age, like, you're just training your peers, or?
Yeah, it was just like other students at the school that saw me. Like, I was 15, I was deadlifting over 300 pounds, and
Wow.
So it's like, not that I actually knew what I was doing, but I felt like I knew what I was doing because I was strong.
Yeah.
So I was coaching other students that, just saw me doing what I was doing and were like, hey, that's cool. I want to do that too.
Oh, lift that heavy.
And it just like, that's where I found the love for it, right? It's like, I still enjoyed pushing myself, but I enjoyed pushing other people and seeing what they could do so much more that it's like down the road, I think I always just knew. I was like, yeah, the being an athlete thing is cool, but coaching other people and doing that is just so much cooler.
It's a good feeling though,
Dude, so nothing beats
fulfilling.
it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's fulfilling.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So at 15, I want to dig into this a little bit more because, like, when I was 15, I didn't really have access to Google. well, I did, but then I used the dial-up and all that stuff. You know, if someone was on the phone, oh man, I can't go on Google. You know, right? So like at 15 or around that age, like, ooh, how are you learning?
Honestly, so one of the biggest things that I learned, because I did have Google, I might be a little younger than you then, I guess.
When were you born? Okay, but go ahead. I had Google too.
So one of the pages was, it was the Animal Pack, and they were like a powerlifting group that, you know, I can't remember all the names now because it's been so long, but I was following all of their stuff. Like they all had kind of their own separate YouTube channels and things like that, teaching powerlifting.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, I was just searching lifters and following what they were doing.
See what they do.
And like making the typical mistake of being 15 and thinking that I should train like the guys who are at the top of the world that are taking a bunch of steroids and doing all that kind of stuff. So it worked well for me for a very short period of time, and then very much didn't work well for me.
With a lot of those guys, like you said, they are on gear.
Oh yeah.
And they're doing like high volume. And sure, they can do it because they'll recover like this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? But to a normal person like us,
well, that too, and the experience, right? It's like these guys have been lifting for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like if you're walking into the gym on day one and you're trying to match what they're doing, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
there's no nicer way to put it, really.
You know, growing up when you started that career, is there like obviously the online training that you did? Like, did you have anyone that mentored you to start, or everything self-taught?
In the beginning, it was self-taught. I had a guy at the Maryville YMCA back in Ottawa. His name was Matt Bertrand. I can't remember 100% how to pronounce his last name.
Matt.
Yeah, Matt, if you're out there, I appreciate you. And basically, like, he just had a bunch of athletes at that gym that he just kind of helped guide with their training. Like, wasn't really like a formal coach.
Okay.
Just had like a few days a week where he would bring these guys in, and it's like, hey, you know, we're all going to hit our squats and hit our deadlifts today. And then I just kind of ended up joining them. And like, we'd go to competitions together. So it was like a little bit of a team, but kind of like an informal group that just got together and lifted heavy shit together.
The camaraderie.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years, because now you're doing a whole bunch of combat sports athletes.
Yeah.
Why the transition?
Man, so there's so much of a story that like created that transition, but basically, like, you know, started in the powerlifting world, started coaching in the powerlifting world. And then over time, like I said, the mistake of trying to match what these guys at the top levels were doing when I just was not at that level, started with a lot of injuries. So it was like blew up both my shoulders, a knee, my back multiple times, like just brutal.
Yeah.
And so over time kind of started falling out of love with that just for that reason. Like it was it was piles of frustration, right? It's like 2 steps forward and then 5 more steps back over and over again. But I still loved the coaching. I still loved the being around athletes. So I got into coaching all kinds of different athletes. Like I had a job at a gym in Ottawa coaching hockey players, moved out here coaching just a wide variety of like anyone and everyone. And then I just realized, I was like, man, I don't want to just like spend all my time specifically in this one niche of just strength sports, right? And then where it really boiled down to combat sports is through coaching all of these other athletes, hockey players, football players, basketball players. It just always resonated with me, like the individual aspect that I had in powerlifting, right? It was like, you train a hockey player, and don't get me wrong, it's still fun, but you train a hockey player, you build them up, they're the greatest athlete on the team. If the team sucks, they're still going to lose a lot, and they're still not going to look very good, right? It's like, and it sucks. Like, I have a lot of hockey players I really enjoyed working with, but there was always that aspect that I'm like, with a fighter, I could help change the outcome that they were getting in their competitions. You know what I mean? Obviously not myself, like not sitting here trying to say if you're in good shape, you're going to win all your fights. But it's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also like the injuries and everything that I went through, overtraining, trying to match the wrong people, doing all of that. I see that with fighters every single day, right? Like this whole David Goggins and Tony Ferguson thing comes out, and I'm getting messages every day being like, oh, should I be training like that? And I'm like, oh, no. And it's like, but all the time, it's like fighters have that mentality, and I understand it. It's like, the harder we work, the better we're going to get, the more results we're going to get, the further we're going to go. And like, yes, that's true until your body breaks down and then you're done before you start, right? And it's like, so I saw that same mentality that I had in myself in all these athletes.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was like, okay, individual, I always resonated with that. making the same kind of mistakes that I always made. Love that. And then the other part is like getting to sit back and like sit in a crowd and watch these guys go to battle is just so fun. Like it's just such a cool feeling, like knowing that I get to be part of something like that.
100%.
So I started actually with a guy that's in town here, Matt Larson. I don't know if you guys met him or anything, but he's 5-1 as a pro now, and like a couple fights away from the UFC. We've been working together for 5 years, and it was since going to the first fight working with him that I was like, okay, like this is
the one.
This is the one. This is it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's crazy.
Love it. Now, I guess we're already at the meat and potatoes here, but since you mentioned, how you you see yourself with the combat sport athletes and how they work hard, I want to ask you that question. How do you really handle, because I'm assuming all the combat sport athletes here, they just want to work, 24/7, no rest. How do you handle that?
So yeah, a lot of them do. That's the biggest thing that I have to do in the beginning is pull them back.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, oh, I got to train 17 hours a day, 26 days a week. Like just that kind of crazy mentality. And like my job is basically to help teach them like, no, you need to dial it back. You need to recover, that injury that's not healing. Like you need to let that heal if you want to fight. Right. And it's like, so the main thing is just reframing the mindset. And it's like making them understand that more work doesn't equal better results. Better work equals better results.
Quality.
And it's like, I got that from my friend Jeff Lavecchio, so I appreciate you too. A guy in St. Louis, he trains hockey players, but we've been in touch a lot. And like, that's one of the quotes I always hear him use. So I always try to use it with my guys too.
I'm going to use that too.
Hell yeah. It's perfect, right? It's so true. And so it's like basically showing them and helping them understand, like, man, if you're doing the wrong work, doing more of it doesn't help you get further. Right. True. And it's like teaching them that it's like, if you fight for 3 5-minute rounds, your goal isn't to be the guy who can go the longest. Your goal is to be the guy who can go the hardest for 3 5-minute rounds. That's it. Absolutely. Right. Like you compete for 15 minutes at most. Yeah. You don't need to train 14 hours a day to get ready for 15 minutes. You just don't. Like,
That's true. That's true. Is it hard to rewire a fighter's mind?
So hard.
Cause I'll be honest. Cause like if when I'm not in the gym, I'm like, dude, my opponent is running right now, and I'm sitting at home resting. Yeah, I need to be doing something, and I'm sure like every other fighter's like that.
So the big thing with that, right, is the way I try to reframe it with my guys, and it works better with some than others, but the way I try to reframe it is like rest is part of your training. So it's like the analogy I always like to use is like a road trip. It's like people think the longer I drive, the farther I'm going to go, which on the surface sounds right. Until the car runs out of gas and you break down in the middle of the highway.
True.
Right? And then it's like now you're wasting more time because you didn't stop for gas.
You're stuck in the
And now you're stuck in the middle of the highway with nowhere to go. But if you just stopped for gas when you had a quarter tank left, filled it back up, which is your recovery day, then you get back on the road, you keep driving, you get to your destination faster.
Sense?
Exactly. That does make sense.
Right?
It's very logical.
On the surface, because on the surface, like the, harder I work, the better I get makes sense. Like in your head, you're like, oh yeah, if I work harder than he worked, well then I'm going to get here, he's going to get here, I'm going to win. It's like, but if you work so hard that you break your body down, now you like, cool, you spent all these hours in the gym and you're coming into the fight with a busted up shoulder and you can't throw a jab. Who's going to win? The guy who has 2 healthy shoulders that can throw both his hands, or the guy who can't throw his jab?
The guy with 2 shoulders all day.
Most likely. If I had to put my money on it.
Yeah, unless the guy's just a freak of nature that's good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then maybe, right?
Exactly, right? Like, and it's not that's the toughest part, is it's not an exact science in that way, because it's like, the guy who's compromised still could come out and win.
All it takes is one punch, one kick.
But being healthy probably is going to give you an edge, right?
Yeah. Now, as far as like your coaching philosophy, I know you build, your mission is to build a complete athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Not just like a better player, but like a complete athlete. Like if me and Safwan came to you and like, coach, we want to be a high level athlete, high level boxer, MMA fighter. Like what would you do first with us?
So in the beginning, it's all strength. And when I say strength, most people think, throw a whole lot of weight on the bar, get lifting, but it's like strength is your ability to move properly as well, right? It's like the ability to lift more weight and the ability to translate that strength into a sport are 2 entirely different things. And it's like if all you're doing is concentrating on how heavy can you squat, you're not concentrating on what muscles are actually making that squat happen, how the muscles are working together. And then in turn, how you're going to take that into throwing punches, throwing kicks, everything else that you do. Right? So it's like what I do is I focus more on the movement pattern. And it's like, it's a max lift with me when the movement breaks down, not when you can't stand up anymore. Right? So it's like sitting into the movement the right way. It's like, if you can't do that anymore, I don't care that you can still stand up. That's too heavy.
Yeah.
It's not getting us what we want.
That's true.
You know, we were talking about it before the recording. It's like your ability to squat 300 pounds and your ability to fight, not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's not that it's going to hurt it. And I have some athletes that lift very heavy and still fight very well. But like, our focus is never, hey, we need a 400-pound squat. Our focus is how well you're moving and how that's translating into the sport.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if there's a breakdown there, we've got a problem.
True.
Right? Even if progress is being made in the numbers, if my athlete's coming in and they're like, yeah, I was sparring on Saturday and I felt like shit, we got something to fix.
Yeah.
True.
It's like, I don't care how well things are going in here if it's not going well out there.
On the strength building phase, it's all just lower reps, not 10 to 12 kind of deal. It's just all
We do
low.
sometimes with the 10 to 12s, but it's like, it's more just, it's range of motion, it's coordination, right? So it's like, if you think about like sitting into your hips the way you are to throw a punch, it's like, we're going to focus on coordinating our squats the same way. So it's like focusing on engaging through your hips first, sitting into your hamstrings, building up the muscles that are going to come out into the movements you need in the sport.
We're getting so specific.
I know. Exactly. Because like,
These are stuff you don't think of.
no, dude, because we talk about this all the time. Well, and I was telling you like a few weeks back, when I used to train Muay Thai, my Muay Thai coach was like, if you want to be strong, you kick pad. I'm like, okay, I kick the pads. And that's all we did. You want good gas tank? Run 10K. Okay, I ran 10K, go sparring, I'm gassed out still. You didn't do your running. What?
Are you hearing this?
Right? So I did do my running, right? So it's like, so how important is strength training really with like combat sports? Like,
Crucial.
Why though? Like,
Crucial, because like there's a difference between using your strength and building your strength, right? It's like, you're going to get better at throwing kicks. You're going to get more efficient. You're going to get more powerful if all you do is throw kicks. But if you're not building the muscles that are used to throw the kicks through making them stronger, your limit's here instead of your limit being way up here, right? So it's like, if both of us spend the same amount of hours building our technique to throw a kick, but then I'm spending 3 hours a week building the strength in my legs, now what do I have? I have more force to put into the kicks that I'm throwing. Right? So your technique might be great, but my technique's going to be very good and it's going to be way more powerful. So mine's going to hurt a lot more than yours, right? Like,
that's true.
That's it.
That's true.
And it's like, I wanted to touch on what you said about like the Muay Thai coach of like, you know, it's like, you want to get stronger, you want to get stronger, throw the kicks, you want to, you know, build your gas tank, go run 10K. It's confirmation bias, right? It's like your coach is teaching you what their coach taught them, what their coach taught them, what their coach taught them. And it's like, there's no big problem with it because they're still seeing your technique is improving, you're getting a little stronger, whatever. So they don't open their mind to the fact that, hey, there might be other stuff out there.
True.
Right. And it's like that. I see that kind of stuff so much. Like, I'll make posts about like, you know, the best way to condition for combat sports is not running every day. And I get like masses of like words that I don't want to repeat in case people are upset about it in like my DMs, comments, whatever, basically being like, well, Mike Tyson ran every single day and he was the heavyweight champion. I was like, cool. In the 90s, like it's been 30 years. Like, it's like, guys, we've learned stuff since then. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and it's like, back then they just didn't know, right? But it's like, now people watch him and they're like, see, that's what Tyson did and it worked really well. So that's what I have to do. It's like, no, Mike Tyson didn't win championships because he went running. He won championships because he was a psycho and
He's Mike
an incredible boxer, and he's Mike Tyson. Like,
That's facts.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I love
and like all respect, but it's like the methods they were using then is not what you should be doing now. It's like we've learned things in the last 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
See, this is why we're having this conversation right now, man. Because not to say, you know, like your coach or any old school fighters, you're not saying what they're doing was wrong.
No.
Let's say it's good, but there's also other ways, other alternatives to be better. And, you know, again, confirmation bias, they're all like, no, this is what happened. This is what worked for us. But they just fail to realize that there's other ways that we can work on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like when I say stuff like that, it's no disrespect to any coach out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's like they're going off of what they know.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's more out there to know.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tell my athletes too, I'm like, if you ever come in here and I'm like, okay, like, here's the way that you should throw your jab better, like, leave and don't come back. Because that means, like, I've lost something in my head. That's not my lane, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so all these sport coaches, like, so many of them, they assume they understand the conditioning because they understand the sport.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it's like, it would be like me saying I understand the sport because I understand the conditioning. It's like, I can look at a fighter, like the way they throw a punch or something, and be like, oh, that looks weird. But, like, I'm not the guy to teach you. I'm the guy to teach you this stuff.
True.
And that's like, it's the same sort of thing. And, you know, it's always evolving. That's why you also never hear me say I know everything about this, because there's always more to learn about it.
Now, going back to like the strength and conditioning aspect of it, well, we've always been on this topic. Should someone be doing this like throughout their whole fight camp, or is this an off-season kind of thing? Like, what do you recommend?
All the way through. Yeah, and like taper up to the fight, like not like the day before the fight or anything, but it's like all the way through, right? It's the same thing as like, as you build your skills, the stronger, the faster, the better conditioned you are, the better you can execute those skills in a fight, right? So it's like, a lot of people come to me, they're like, oh, I just want to use you for the camp and then, you know, go do my own thing. And like, you'll get more results than if you don't do this stuff at all. But it's the same thing, like, the more reps you do, it'd be the same thing as me asking, like, okay, should you only go to Muay Thai when you have a fight coming up, or should you be practicing all the way through?
Year round.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for this stuff. It's like, if you want better results, you need to do it consistently. That's
Absolutely.
Now, the golden age question, man.
You've been waiting.
I've been waiting. Building a gas tank. Okay. To give you an idea, about a month, after we spoke to do our little pre-pod little meeting, I looked at your page and I was like, I want to build my gas tank within a week, okay? Going on a salt bike, 2 minutes max pace, then 2 minutes rest. It killed me. That was my first time doing that. Is that ideal for someone that hasn't done any of this kind of like cardio to just get right into it? Or do you build your way up? Or let me rephrase it. What would you recommend to like a brand new boxer that's looking to build their anaerobic?
So that one would be a little bit more aerobic. But honestly, it depends on the athlete, right? It's like, I have some guys who come in that like, they've been training for 10 years. They're already in good shape. We can kind of throw them into the fire and like, they can get right into pretty high intensity stuff. Yeah. But it's like, we always build from where you're at.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's like, on day one, a session like that makes sense. But it's like, if you hit that session and you're sore for 4 days afterwards, it means the intensity was too high. And next time, bring the intensity down a little bit so that you can still train the next day. Right? Because with strength and conditioning, that's the other thing, is like, so many people look at it as like boot camp, military style. Like we mentioned the David Goggins thing earlier. And we could talk more about that too. But,
please.
But people think of it like that, right? And it's like, but the way I look at it is always like, if you can't go do your skills training in the same day or the next day because we worked so hard that you're so sore that you can't go do that, it's not helpful.
Too much, yeah.
Right? Because it's like, our goal is to help you succeed in the sport, nothing else. And it's like, and if you're missing skills training because of what you're doing here, you're not going to succeed in the sport. Right? So it's like, consistent building up with the work we do, plus the consistent skills training, creates the best athlete.
With cardio, so there's, what are the different types? There's anaerobic and then
aerobic.
So the anaerobic, there's two different systems.
Yeah.
Honestly, they work very, very closely together, but it's anaerobic alactic and then anaerobic lactic. And it's like, basically anaerobic alactic is like 110% intensity. That's like your fight finisher, right? Like you throw that hard combo that finishes the guy, night's over. And it's like, the anaerobic lactic can go for a little bit longer, but it's still like 100% intensity.
Right.
Okay.
And then the aerobic system is like, that's what keeps you standing up the whole way through.
Okay.
Like that's like the pace, the baseline of the pace, essentially.
That's more your jogging and stuff then.
Yeah, exactly.
So a good beginner program. I don't know if this is beginner or not, but I'm gonna ask you anyways because I was looking at your page. So now and I tried it, I died.
You're like, damn, is that? He's trying to confirm if it's beginner. That tells him. He's like,
I don't know, man.
Was it beginner? Really?
Maybe this is kind of tough, man. This is kind of tough, man. So day one, so basically Monday, you're doing your 2 minutes, going all out, 2-minute rest, I think for 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And then second day, you're doing 30 minutes steady state, I think.
Yeah.
And then third day, you're doing a minute hard and a minute off. Is that ideal for a beginner?
Yeah, fairly ideal. But then again, it would just be managing the intensity, right? It's like there's no one exact set or rep scheme. Like,
Yeah.
That 30-minute session, that can be a 20-minute session, that can be a 40-minute session. It's all about what you put into the time.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right? It's like 20 minutes, you're going to be at a little higher pace than you are at 30 or 40. But if you're at that higher pace, you finish and, you've got a good sweat going, you've worked hard, but you're not dead, still a good session. Right? And it's like the 2 on, 2 off, that can be a minute on, 2 minutes off. That can be 2 minutes on, 1 minute off, 90 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Like you can like mix and match it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's all about the intensity. If you've never done that kind of training before and you try to hit that 2 minutes at 100%, you're going to die.
And that's what happens.
I love he always says, if you did this, man, you're going to die.
I mean, like, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I think it's like the fighter mentality where it's like, if I'm not working out for a set amount of time, I'm not working hard enough.
Yeah, we tie it into how long you work, not how hard you work during that time. Me, at least.
100%.
Even if I worked hard and it's only like 20 minutes, after the 20th minute, I'm like, okay, that's so quick. Like,
I got to do like 4 more hours for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
That's it. But that's a good point. It's literally the quality you put in, not really how long you work.
It's the intentionality, right? It's like if you can stay at the gym all day and get nothing done.
Yeah,
it's like
I see it happen too sometimes in commercial gyms.
100%, right? It's like you can stay there all day and get nothing done, or you can get in and out and get more work than the guy who was there for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
right?
facts.
So it's like people get so caught up in how long they're training. Like the one I hear all the time is like first one in the gym, last one out of the gym. Doesn't mean shit if you're not doing anything while you're there. Like,
Yeah, exactly. You just be walking around just talking the whole time.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like, oh, I went and hit the bag for 40 minutes, and then I did a couple rounds of sparring, and then I lifted some weights, and then it was like, cool. Like, I got in, I did a good workout, and then I left. Like,
Right? But the thing that takes it is when they go on Instagram afterwards, post it, no one outworks me. And now, question for you, Coach. How important is rest time? Now, rest time as in like you're doing your set and then you're resting in between, whether it be like with lifting weights or doing cardio, whether it be on an assault bike or like just sprinting.
crucial. Same thing as like the lifting, the conditioning work, all of it. Crucial, because it's like, and the pushback I always get is like, you don't get to rest in the middle of a round or something, right? But it's like, when we do the anaerobic stuff, so like the 15 seconds max intensity, 60 seconds off, like that kind of style that you'll see me post about a lot, it's like the goal isn't to mimic a fight. The goal is to build the physical quality you need in a fight, right? So it's like for those sessions, like the goal is not to make it look like a fight. The goal is to improve your ability to be explosive and maintain it for longer.
True.
And you do that when you're fully recovered, right? So it's like the reason you get that minute after doing 15 seconds of work is because we need that 15 seconds to be at 100% every single time, right? And if you take 10 seconds of rest in between it, like you're still pushing hard, but you're not at 100%, and we're not getting what we want out of that session.
That's true.
Right?
I can see that.
And quality with the lifting too. It's like if you do a set of heavy squats and then 10 seconds later you try to do your next set, it's going to be an ugly set of heavy squats, or it's not going to be heavy enough, right?
Yeah.
So it's like giving that minute and a half between sets just allows you to recover and allows you to put a good effort forward. Like we were saying, right? Intentionality is the key.
Yeah.
It's like you can go burn yourself through a workout, but if you take the proper rest times and do everything properly, even if it takes you a little bit longer, you don't feel as gassed. You're getting more quality work in, and in turn, quality work turns into a quality performance.
That's very true. I agree with that. 100%. Right?
You get so specific. I'm like, it's literally a different insight, and because I'm guilty. I'm like, when I do sprints or when I run, I got to do 3 minutes, 1 minute rest, because that's how you mimic a fight.
Yeah.
Right.
But let me ask you this. If you're doing 3 minutes straight of sprints, do you ever sprint for 3 straight minutes in a round?
No, you don't.
No.
Exactly.
Right? So how's it mimicking a fight?
No, it's in my mind. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like in my mind.
Trust me, the only reason I'm saying it is because I get like 400 comments like that a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like, why is it not 3 minutes on 1 minute rest? Because that's what we do in the fight.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's not though.
Never. It's never like
Unless you're
that.
fighting, then you're not really doing the 3 minutes or 1 minute rest.
More with training, with strength conditioning specifically, how often should people be training strength?
So the big key part of it is you don't have to do as much of this stuff as you do skills training, but it needs to be as important. Because like if you have great skills but you're slow and you gas out fast, you've got a huge limit on your career. If you're a great athlete, like physically you can go for a long time, but your skills are bad, you're not going to go very far in your career. The ones who are going to go the furthest are the ones who have both. Right. So it's like usually I have my athletes 2 to 3 sessions a week. And it's like, that's it. It doesn't have to be a crazy amount on top of it because we're not trying to kill you. We're trying to build you, right?
True.
And it's like slow, consistent progress over time is going to be the answer. Like, whereas a lot of people think, again, like we were talking about earlier, the more work I do, the better I'm going to get.
Yeah.
It's like for a very, very short period of time, yes. And then you're going to do this while the guy who's been consistent just keeps building.
Now, does that change when they go on training camp?
Generally, no.
Okay.
But the other difference with that is going to be like a lot of my athletes work full-time jobs on top of training, right? So it's like I'm not going to have them do 5 sessions a week on top of full-time work because then the overall workload is still too much and they still burn out, right? It's like if an athlete is just training, just fighting, it's like then for sure we can add in a little bit more. But it's like the key is just continue to build. And it's all athlete dependent. Like I have some people who I have do a little bit more. I have some people who I have do a little bit less. But it's all depending on the person and depending on how they're responding to it. Right? It's like if they're doing 3 a week and they're like, man, I'm just burnt all the time. Cool, cut one of them out. It's like if you're doing 2 a week, but you're like, man, I feel like I'm still not like as strong, as powerful as I need. Cool, let's add one in. Like it can change to the person, but not necessarily with training camp.
Gotcha. And when you finish a session, can you train afterwards? Like,
Yeah.
Can you do? Oh, really?
Oh, 100%. Like you should be able to do both. Right? Because 100%. And like maybe not like one right into the other. Like if you can take an hour between, have something to eat or whatever, like that's going to be better.
Right.
But it's like I was saying before, it's like if my rule is always if you can't train because of what we did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I pushed you so hard that your legs are destroyed for 4 days, you're not becoming a better fighter. You're just working hard in a gym. Like,
Dead. You're just dead for 3 days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That doesnn help anybody.
Yeah.
Even when you're doing like a really heavy session, I'm assuming you don't combine like a heavy lifting and sprinting on the same day because your CNS would just be fried. Is that safe to assume?
If we do, it's managing the amount of both, right? It's like we're not going to have like 15 heavy sets of squats and then a ton of sprints, but like we'll work up to some heavy reps and then do like some sprints, some plyos and stuff in the same day.
Right.
But it's like managing the amount and also depending on the person, right? It's like I've got some guys that I've had for 5 years, like they can handle that and then go off and train and it's no problem. Guy on their first day, definitely not.
Or else you're dead.
Or else?
That's it. That's it.
And as far as rest days goes, like what's ideal? Is it just one? Is it a couple? Or is it really dependent on the athlete?
Dependent on the athlete, 100%. And it's like a whole bunch of different factors come into play. Like one, no matter who you are, because it's just, again, that road trip analogy we talked about, right? Of like the further you drive, the longer you drive, the further you're going to go until the car breaks down and then that just ruins it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. It's like no matter who you are, you need that day that you can just let the gas tank refuel, let the body recharge, get back to training. But then like I work with a few guys that are a little bit older, they're further in their career. You know, if you don't train 14 times a week, you're not going to lose your skills.
That's true.
Right? So it's like if your body's in a little bit rougher shape, take 2 rest days a week. And it's like let your body like train hard for 3 days, take a day off, train hard for a couple days, take a day off.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like your skills are going to keep improving.
True.
But your body's going to stay healthier because you're not beating it through the floor.
That's true. That's true. And what's a rest day to you? Like what's an ideal rest day?
Again, it's going to depend on the person, right? Like, but the biggest thing for me is like you can still be active, but it's just not a hard training session. Like if you're doing anything that's making you sore the next day, you've done too much. It's not a rest.
That's not a rest day. That's a work day.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I have some guys like, you know, that fighter mentality. They never want to take a day off, right? So it's like for rest days, I'll throw in like a full body mobility session, light cardio. So like hop on a bike for 20 minutes and just pedal lightly, get the blood flowing. But we're not trying to, we're not trying to like work. We're just trying to get you moving. And then like hand-eye coordination drills and stuff that it's like still testing the brain, it's still making progress, but your body's still healing up.
That's good.
That's true. Yeah, because my rest days consist of me
Resting. That's me.
yeah, exactly. Just trying to rest. Trying to rest though, because like I said, I'm always thinking like I need to be doing something, but you just confirmed it, man. You don't need to be doing something.
Yep.
Like,
I love it because that's always been me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, yeah, I work hard, but rest day today, coach? Oh, best believe I'm a rest.
Oh, yeah.
Best day.
Now that the expert says it, we all got to rest
Yeah,
now, you
now
know?
it just
it, man.
confirmed. So
That's
I was
it.
right the whole time. That's
there you
lazy.
go.
I'm not lazy. I'm resting.
But honestly, like that's the mindset, right? Is it's like the rest day is part of the training.
Yeah.
Just like stopping for gas is part of the road trip. You don't stop for gas, you run out on the highway. Like
Exactly.
That's
That's a
true.
good example. We use that analogy too. That's
do it, man. Do it.
It's amazing.
Love it.
Now the mind of the fighter, very like they're dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
A majority of them are very, very dialed in.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because like you said, it's very like it's a me sport. It's just me.
Yeah.
Right, and you have to be sharp. Do you work with a lot of athletes with training their mindset as well?
Yeah, so I do that kind of stuff. Like there's not like I'm getting into doing more of it, but it's like a lot of it right now is just within the conversations, right? It's like whatever they're struggling with, it's like when I'm coaching an athlete, it's like it's not just, hey, here's your workout, tell me how it goes.
See ya. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's like when they're struggling with, life, when they're struggling with anything else, it's like my goal is to always be there for that stuff too. Because it's like, man, there's a lot of that within building a business, which is what I've like, that's been my journey the last number of years, right? And it's like when I've been struggling, when I'm like, oh man, I feel like I always need to be doing more. It's like I needed that voice being like, dude, chill out, you're okay. Like, and it's like, so I always aim to be that for my athletes too.
Right.
And it's like, again, that dialed in mind of a fighter, like some people don't take to that as much, whereas other people, like, I do have a lot of athletes now that it's like when they're struggling with something, like they will come to me, they'll be like, hey, like it's been a really tough week, I'm dealing with this, this, and this. And it's like, I think a lot of athletes need to understand, like, you're people first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're going to deal with hard things. And when you deal with hard things, don't have that, like, I'm a fighter, I'm good. Like, no, it's like, it's okay to deal with hard things and
That's
like
true.
not be okay for a couple days. But then it's how you handle it that matters. Shoving it down and just deciding that it's not a big deal isn't handling the problem, right? But actually learning to face it, actually learning to deal with everything to help keep moving you forward is the way that you're actually going to keep moving forward.
Agreed. Because like with training, if I'm going through a lot of stuff in life, it translates into it too. Like
Dude.
you notice it, do you?
Oh, absolutely.
You're watching your athlete, you're like, there's something wrong with you, buddy. You notice it?
100%. Like there are people where it's like literally they'll walk in the front door and I'm like, you doing okay? Like,
It's a walking rain cloud, you know?
yeah. And it's like, again, usually early on, like a lot of the reaction is like, yeah, I'm good, whatever. It's all like, but then after working with an athlete for a while, like my goal is always that it's like, if you're not doing okay, you can walk in the front door, you can be like, it's been a rough week, like, and then I don't have to talk that day too much. Like, I'll just tell you what you got to do and be there to help if you need it.
Yeah.
But also it's like, I've had those deep conversations with athletes too, where like stuff's going wrong and they're like, yeah, I'm struggling, I need help. And it's like, man, it's okay to need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like what you said too, because like with fighters, they have that tough guy mentality.
Yeah.
Right? I'll mess you up. I don't need to talk to you. But deep down, because since they have that mentality, who are you going to talk to?
It's really important because to add to your point, a lot of fighters, there's like to us, to other people, they're just fighters, right? Like they're tough, so they got to put that tough face on where whatever's happening to them, it's really like they're invisible. You know what I mean? So,
And it's just not reality. Right?
Exactly.
It's like you're a person, just like
they get
everybody
put on that
else.
pedestal where they don't get hurt or they're so used to getting hurt because that's where the game that they're at, right?
Yeah, it's like, but you're a person just like everybody else.
Absolutely.
Like stuff's gonna go wrong in your life, and it's okay to need help
To deal with
it's
it,
okay.
yeah.
And like when you're overwhelmed with stuff, it's okay to say, "Hey, yeah, I'm
It's too
overwhelmed. I
much,
need
yeah.
some help. Like I got too much on my plate right now." Like that happens to them, just like it happens to everybody else.
Yep.
And it's like stop trying to pretend that you're a superhuman.
It's true,
Absolutely.
man. Yeah, taking care of the mind's just so important.
It's everything, man.
It's everything.
You're not getting anywhere without it. Like
Exactly, because I listen to a lot of your stuff, and like you preach a lot about mindset. I know you invest a lot into personal development.
Oh, yeah.
Who did you sat down with? It was
E.T. Eric Thomas.
Yeah.
Eric Thomas.
Yeah,
how was that?
I took a course of his, so it was a room of like 600 people or something, right? But
He's amazing.
man, so cool. Like just, and because that was the whole thing. Like the whole week was just, you know, learning how to face the demons, learning how to, you know, work through things instead of just trying to shove them down.
Yeah.
Because it's like what I've learned over time of actually investing in personal development is like every time you hit a wall or a plateau or like such things stop going right, it's like it's something in here. Like, and then it's like when you can fix the mental thing that's blocking you, you're going to break through that next wall.
Wow.
Right. And it's just like every time it's happened to me, like whether it's in business, personal life, whatever, it's like I'll hit that spot where I'm like, man, like things just aren't going my way. And then something comes in, I'm like, okay, this is the issue that I'm dealing with. Like I come up with like, you know, some sort of problem that I've had that I haven't faced or something like that. And then it's like, I faced the problem and sure enough, whatever was bugging me in the business fixed. Like,
Just like that.
yeah.
Like, how do you, like, obviously that's, you know, that's your mindset going in, but like, you know, tell us about the ways that you do in your, or whatever you tell your mind, or if there's anything that you do physically to actually get out of that wall or to break that wall.
Yeah. So so the first thing is the morning routine.
Okay.
And it's like I'm up at 4 o'clock every single morning. And every morning it's 4 a.m. wake up, a cold shower, 10-minute meditation, a journal, and then reviewing my vision. So I have a video that's literally myself just speaking back to me as if all the goals I have for the next 5 years are accomplished. So it's like, you know, that's gym that I own, like the, you know, upgrades that we've made to this, that's athletes that I'm working with, the levels that they're at. So like the events I'm going to watch my athletes at, that's like things that I've created myself. Like I want to run seminars to help athletes with this kind of stuff. And it's like all of those kind of goals. And it's literally just me speaking to myself being like, you know, it's 2027, you're doing this, and like just going through all of these different goals that I want to accomplish in the future.
Yeah.
And it's like just mentally right away, I start my day off being like, you know, with a journal that's all like intentions for the day, affirmations about myself, things like that. Meditation where I'm just thinking and picturing things that I want in the future, things that are, you know, going to go right in life. And then my vision, basically like me in the future being like, hey man, your life is fucking awesome. Like, way to go.
Yeah.
And like, then that's when I start my day. Right. So it's like whatever small thing comes up, immediately I'm like, man, this is what I'm working towards. This is something tiny. I can get through that. That's no problem.
Wow.
Right. And it's because it's so well reinforced in my brain every single day that it's like, there's literally nothing now. It's like, there's literally nothing that could happen now that I would be like, oh no, like life is ruined.
Why would
it's like,
I let
whatever
this
it is, it's like, cool. Yeah. I'm just going to fix it and move on.
That's a good habit to do.
Dude, visualization.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like the first hour of my morning every single day. I don't touch my phone. I've got nothing. Like it's literally just me focusing on me. And then because I spend an hour focusing on me, then for the next 14 hours when I'm focusing on everybody else, it's easy.
You've already done yours.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm good. And then I get to the gym after that. So it's like the mindset stuff, the physical stuff is all done by 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it's like when everybody else is opening their eyes,
you're done.
Working.
Hey, that's the one. I like that. Now, I was listening to another one of your podcasts, and you mentioned something that I resonated with 110%, because this is what I preach with not only myself, but people around me. But I want you to talk about it, because I want people to hear your perspective on it. Stacking wins.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for sure. Because it's like, it's all identity, right? And for this, like, I'll talk more about kind of how I came with that. Like, when I was younger, like, bless my parents' heart, but like they were very much like they had the 9-to-5 jobs. They, you know, made the good salary, were very comfortable, but like that just didn't resonate with me the same way. And it's like, if that's you, that's fine. Like I have nothing against that. They're very happy people, but it's like, it just never resonated with me the same way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I would see these people doing these incredible things. Like when I was 15, I was watching these powerlifters competing in front of thousands of people, lifting these like guys squatting 1,000 pounds, and I'm like, man, like that's so cool. And so forever I always wanted to do more,
right?
But I never felt like the person that was capable of doing more. And it's like, it comes with stacking wins. It's like, because if you build, like if you're inconsistent with things, you know, like whether it's going to the gym, whether it's training martial arts, whether it's, you know, whatever else you're doing in your life, if you're inconsistent, you build the identity of someone who's inconsistent. Right? So it's like, but then like, will you ever hear people say things like, oh, I can never be on time for something? Yes, you can. You do exactly what you do earlier in the day. That's it.
Yeah.
You can, like, no matter who you are, you can be on time for things.
True.
But people build the identity as someone who's always late, and then they're always late. Right? And it's like, it's shifting the identity. And it was my business coaches actually that helped me a lot with that, helped me like realize where I was stuck with those things. And they were just like, man, you've built yourself into the person who's always going to be poor, who's never going to amount to anything, all of that. And it's like, if you shift that, everything else is going to come.
True.
And it's like, start with things like the morning routine. Like I literally have not missed one day on that since I started doing it. And it's not because I have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's because I've made the decision I'm going to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Big difference.
Right. But it's like, because I do it every morning, I'm stacking the win of like, I said I'm going to wake up at this time. I woke up at that time. I said I'm going to do my 10 minutes of meditation. I did my 10 minutes of meditation. And then over time, it becomes, I say I'm going to, you know, coach athletes in the UFC, coach athletes in the UFC. It's like whatever task I put my mind on now, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because every single day I reinforce that it's like, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
That's big.
Do it.
Right?
100%.
And it's like, I wasn't that way forever, but it was just learning with the small things. Like in the beginning, it was wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Right? And then that was hard, but I started doing it. And then eventually it got all the way up to like, the business grew. I needed more time in my day. I had to start pushing that earlier and earlier. But it's like, and then you add more stuff to it, right? But it's just the identity. It's like, there's nothing you can't do.
Facts.
It's just what's going on in here that stops you from doing it, that builds the identity as someone who can't do that thing.
I love it because we had this episode before about stacking wins, and just to add to that, it's just a shift of mindset.
100%.
You just change the can't to can, right?
Yeah.
You could be, or you just change it of saying, okay, I'm always late for something.
Yeah.
You can just change to say I'll be on time every time.
Exactly.
It's literally that same thing, and you just have to shift it once and just fix it that way. So
like, man, I don't let myself use the word can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, anytime I do, like anytime I say like, oh, I can't make it, I'll be like, how can I make it?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I actually I consciously make myself stop and say it again with the new language, because it's like, I still slip into that mind, but then it's like, no, just shift it. Like, oh, I can't do this. Well, yeah, I can, but is that a priority? No, it's not a priority. Okay, I've decided not to do this today.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
It's not because I can't. It's because I decided not to.
Exactly, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's a game changer, because it's like, literally, you can do anything. Like, oh, you want to, like, people say the same thing about waking up early, right? They're like, oh, I just can't
I can never wake up early.
And then, like, people will ask me, they're like, how do you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day? I'm like, I set my alarm for 4.
I wake up.
When it goes off, I get out of bed. Like,
Yeah, it's simple as that.
that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Like, what's the difference? Eh?
Yeah,
You know, like,
Time. That's it.
Yeah.
oh, but like, how do you do it without hitting snooze? I just don't do this on the snooze button. Like, that's
Because here's the thing, regardless if you're waking up at 4, 7, 6, you're going to be tired.
yeah.
That's it.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Right?
And you wake
Exactly.
up.
Yeah, exactly. You wake up.
Yeah.
It's just
And
the
then, like, the same people, right? It's like, they'll be up until 1 o'clock in the morning doing God knows what. I'm like, you want to wake up earlier? Stop going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like,
Exactly.
it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Right? That's so true. But Coach, the thing you said about like stacking wins, the reason why I resonate with that so much is that, yeah, like you said, you're creating confidence in yourself, right? When you say you're gonna do this and you do it, you're building confidence day by day, task by task. And if you don't stack that win, who are you lying to?
Yourself. Like,
That's exactly it,
Just
right?
you.
And if you lie to yourself, like no one, like as a coach, if you lie to yourself, imagine how that's going to translate to your clients,
guys,
yeah.
right? So that's like,
Well, and the same kind of thing there, like, I want to touch on this because this is something I see a lot, even just like day to day in the business, is like, I'll have athletes reach out to me and they're like, man, I desperately need to improve my strength and conditioning. Like, I gassed out in my last 3 fights. I got knocked out twice. Like, just stories of, things are not going well for me. I talked them through, you know, this is what we do. This is how we do it. We get to the price. Oh, I can't afford it. And I'm like, dude, you can't afford not to do it. True. Like, think about what's happening to you right now. It's like, find that money and invest it. Like, how are you telling me I lost my last 3 fights? I'm in terrible shape. This is my one and only thing that I want to do, but I can't afford the solution that has been proven to work time and time and time again. You know what I mean? Like, it's those little things that it's like, if this is truly an important goal to you, figure it out. Like, there's a way for you to find that money. There's a way for you to find that time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just depends on how badly you want it.
That's true. It's like what my mentor told me. I remember it clearly. He was like, if I were to give you a Ferrari tomorrow for $10 and you didn't have $10, what would you do? I'm thinking, I'm going to go in my couch. I'm finding $10 all day. Right? So
no matter how.
Yeah, exactly. So like, they should have the same mindset with that. Well, with a lot of people, they should have that mindset, but they clearly don't.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong. There's some times where it's like, yeah, they straight up can't afford it. Like, life is in a rough spot. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to try it. But it's like, there's other times where it's like, I'm a weird guy. Like, when somebody tells me I can't afford coaching, it's like, I'm going to watch how you spend your money. Like, I follow you on Instagram now.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch how you spend your money. And it's like, oh, you're out at a club for the 3rd time this month. Really? And you can't afford a couple $100 a month to fix your gas tank up? Like, how important is this career to you, really?
True.
Right? And it's like, you have the money, you're just spending it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have the time, you're just wasting it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what so many people don't understand, right? And it's like, it's so frustrating, but at the same time, like, so rewarding when people actually do get it and you see the results you can give them.
100%. It's all about the fulfillment.
You should raise your price if they took it. They said they can't afford, they took it. They got better, they got paid. You should raise your price after that.
Yeah.
I told you, man. Now I need my...
Exactly. What's up now?
Look at you with all your money.
The one thing we were talking about earlier.
Is it this?
This is the one.
To be honest, I thought you were going to start with that earlier. I was like, here it comes. And then when you asked a different question,
here it comes. So, Tony, we've all seen this on Instagram.
We have.
The OG David Goggins training Tony Ferguson. What's wrong with that, coach?
Okay. I'm going to start this off by saying I have the utmost respect for both of these guys.
Same.
Because, like, I went to watch David Goggins speak live in September, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever been part of. And, like, Tony Ferguson, how can you not love him and respect him if you're a fan of MMA? Mm-hmm. But, like, this is the absolute worst thing that this guy can be doing 4 weeks out from a fight. It's
4 weeks out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it is the worst thing. I cannot think of a worse way that he could have spent 4 weeks out from a fight than doing a David Goggins Hell Week. Like, and so when I posted about this a week or so ago, and kind of mixed emotions in the comments about it. But the big thing is, like, the message that I kept getting that, you know, playing devil's advocate, okay, was it wasn't about the training, it was about the mental respark, like getting El Kukui back instead of Tony Ferguson. You know, he's on a 6-fight skid, he needs that spark. Even if that's the case, you're too close to the fight for that to make sense. Oh, yeah. Like, do that 15 weeks out where you can afford to take 3 full weeks off to recover from it and not miss out on your training camp, right? And it's like, do that for 1 week and 1 week only. Like,
yeah.
But the big thing is, like, guys, 4 weeks out, you need to be peaking. Like, your body needs to be feeling good. You need to be at your fastest, strongest, most explosive.
Yep.
And it's like, that kind of training kills you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no nice way to put it. You're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not me saying it. Like, David Goggins literally says that in his books. Like, multiple times. He's like, yeah, like, Hell Week is designed to see what level of torture your body is able to withstand and keep going.
Yep.
And it's like, it's not designed to help you perform. It's designed to make you quit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, you know, a couple of the comments were like, oh, you can't comment on that because you've never done Hell Week. I'm like, no, you know the reason I can tell you 4 weeks out from a fight, Hell Week's not the right kind of training? Because I have a brain. Like, it's like...
It's true.
It's called Hell Week. That's it.
No,
That's it. It's called Hell Week.
Right? But it's like, what happens with this kind of training is, first, the CNS is fried. Like, your nervous system is destroyed doing something like this, which takes time to recover. Like, it's probably going to be, and like, Tony Ferguson is Tony Ferguson, so he's going to keep training next week anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's going to be fried. He's going to be a shell of himself physically. Even if El Kukui is back in the mind, Tony Ferguson won't be there in the body. Mm-mm. And that's not even his fault. Like, no matter how hard he tries, he's not going to be able to perform at the level that he wants to because his nervous system is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
If his body is not physically injured too. Right? And it's like, so now in the last few weeks of the fight, while he's supposed to be doing this, he's destroyed.
Yeah. Body,
like, physically and mentally is not going to be himself.
Yeah.
And then he's going to come into his fight. Right? And it's just not beneficial in any way, shape, or form. Like, and also, like, especially with Tony Ferguson, mental has never been his thing. Like, he fought Charles Oliveira and literally let him snap his arm and didn't tap to it. Like, and then Beneil Dariush, didn't he pop his knee out or something, like, in that fight? Mm-hmm. So it's like, mental has never been his thing. Like, quitting has never been his thing. So it's like, the guy who needs, like, Hell Week is the guy who quits in fights that, you know, doesn't, like...
Yeah.
Like, the guy who gets punched once and goes, oh... Like, which, like, I'm not, you know, calling anybody out with that, but it's like, that's the guy who needs to learn how to not quit, not Tony Ferguson.
No. No, not at all, man. Because Hell Week, like you said, is designed to make people quit, to see what 100%. You're really made of. And yeah, Ferguson ain't quitting.
No.
Yeah.
And you saw the videos, right, of what you were doing. You're, like, doing, like, 3 mile, like, squats or whatever it was, lunges. I'm like... Why?
I can't even do 3 miles running, man.
Dude, and like the one other thing, because one of the comments I got just made me, like, I had to put my phone away.
Was it like a face palm kind of moment?
100%. It was like, I had to put my phone down for a couple minutes. It's like, I don't even know what to say to this guy.
What was it?
So basically, like, because my post was basically saying, like, athletes do not take inspiration from this. Like, you should not, like, respect about these guys, they're savages, but like, this is not the way to train to perform in a fight. And a guy basically commented talking about how David Goggins is a top tier strength and conditioning coach because look at everything he's accomplished fitness and mindset wise.
Okay.
And it's like, but he is a endurance runner. Like, he runs 200-mile races.
He will, yeah.
And like, even if you read his books, he's destroyed his body. Like, those are his words, not mine.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's not, like, a strength and conditioning coach is not, hey, how long can you go and not quit? A strength and conditioning coach is, how do we help you perform in the sport?
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
Right? And it's like, his, like, mindset-wise, baddest man on the planet. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, there's nobody that's going to beat him. But, like, that's not performance training. That is how far can you go before you quit. Yeah. And it's like teaching, like, keeping your body healthy, strong, and actually ready to perform is not running 200-mile races, right? It's like your ability to do that and your ability to coach an athlete, totally different. That doesn't mean that he's not a good strength and conditioning coach, but that being the reason is what's wrong with our industry. Like, it's just, it could not be further from the truth. And it's like, Wayne Gretzky was the greatest hockey player of all time, had a terrible record as a coach. Like, your ability to be an athlete and your ability to be a coach, irrelevant from each other. Yeah. Like, plain and simple.
Since we're on the topic of, like, finding, like, what is a good coach? What is a good coach?
So the big thing there is, like, there's a lot of different elements to it, right? Number one is, like, the training itself. It's like, you can be the greatest guy in the world. If the training sucks, the athlete's not going to get better. If the athlete's not going to get better, you're not a good coach. And it's like, but number two is the mental side of it, right? It's like, I can have the greatest program in the world, but if it doesn't work for the person that I have in front of me, I'm not a good coach. Right? So it's like the ability to adapt, I think, would be the way to sum that up the best. Is because, like, if an athlete comes in and I have a heavy, hard day planned, and they come in and they're physically beat up, mentally not feeling good, that heavy, hard day is not going to be beneficial.
No.
So it's up to me to be like, okay, you know, body's not feeling good today and mentally you're not feeling good today. Cool. We're going to take a couple exercises out. We're going to shift a couple things around. We're going to have you leaving the gym feeling better today. Right? Or the ability, like, you know, decisions like this, I think, is another one that really makes a coach better. I had a guy, he started working with me in November. He was fighting in December. And maybe started in October. Anyway, relatively soon before his fight. And we started out, we were making a lot of really good improvements. He was noticing it in the sport as well, like in training. And then 10 days out from his fight, he calls me. He says, hey, I'm supposed to be training. I've got 2 sessions today, but, like, my body's just beat up. I feel terrible. My shoulders are aching. Like, everything hurts. And he was like, should I still go train? And without hesitation, I was like, no. Like, go home, recover. He's like, but like, I'm so close to the fight. Like, I feel like I shouldn't take an extra recovery day. You know, like what if, and I was like, no, stop. Go home and recover. And he calls me the next day. He's like, I feel amazing.
There you go.
And it's like, but it's making those changes.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you don't have to stick to the plan rigidly 100%. It's like life comes up. And when life comes up, you got to adapt.
Yep.
And it's like, that's coaching. Coaching isn't throwing a workout plan at somebody. Coaching isn't yelling at someone until they puke. Like, it's being able to adapt. Like, there's some days where you've got to have the hard conversations. Like, I've had those conversations with athletes too of like, man, you told me you want to be a UFC champion. Like, you got to get your shit together. Like, you're not doing, like, what you're doing here is not going to lead there. But then there are other days where you've got to be compassionate, right? You're like, you know, guys going through a bad breakup and dealing with a bunch of stuff at home and got this and that, whatever going on. It's like, you coming in and being like, yo, what's wrong with you? Like, that's not helping anybody.
No, not at all.
Like,
You said you want to be a champion.
Yeah,
Here you
it's
want
like,
to
especially with
break up.
fighters.
yeah, it's like there's some times where you got to be compassionate. You got to help pull them up. And there are other times where they need the little bit of like the, hey, man,
I got you,
what are
brother.
we doing
Yeah,
here?
one of those things. Yeah. That's true.
And you got to find the mix of both, right? And that's like, to me, that's coaching way more than anything we're doing in here.
I like that, man. Wow. So
really
where do we sign up?
I'm about to go pro.
Here. Yeah, right. About to be pro. Let's go. No, I like that. And finding a fine line between being that person that needs to like just tell them how it is and be compassionate. I feel like I kind of struggle with that. 'Cause it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's not easy for sure.
Yeah.
No, not at all, right? So I give you kudos for that because like as a really good coach, as a mentor, being able to like have that switch and really read a person, tough, so tough.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too. It's like even as I say it, it's like I know that there are athletes that like I work with right now that haven't built that level of trust with me yet. That it's like, you know, that's what I'm like trying to get through with them. That it's like, hey, if you're dealing with something, you can tell me about it. If you need the week off because you're going through whatever, talk to me. Like, you don't have to be afraid of missing a session. Like, talk to me and either we help figure out how to keep you on track or we say, you know, cool, like take this week, go sort life out and we'll get back to it next week. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like, whereas so many people are so used to coaches being like, you know, you missed a workout, that's like the end of the world and now you're going to get punished. It's like, that's not helping anybody. Like,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's
true.
like my goal is to always build that level of trust where it's like, you can tell me when life is kicking your ass a little bit. And it's like, I'm there to help you, not there to be like, yo, get your fucking workout in.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Coach, where can people find you? Like program wise, coaching wise, where can they find you?
Best place is Instagram for sure. That's the one that's been like definitely the most active.
Yeah.
Coach_Dusseault and Dusseault, Dusseault.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are not going to get that on the first try.
Right. Dusseault, how do you spell that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of people won't get that.
DOSO?
Yeah, Dusseault.
I've had a couple people say.
I mean, that's how you spell do so.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right.
So reach out to Coach Dusseault for any like one-on-one training. Do you offer programs as well, or how does it work?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff online too. And like that was something I shied away from for a really long time because like everything we're talking about here, right? Like building the relationships, compassion versus giving them the kick in the ass when they need it. It's a lot harder to do when the person's not in the room.
Yeah.
So it's like it took me a long time to actually go online because of that, because I'm like, I don't want to just throw a program at people. Like I want to help and coach. And it was through COVID that it was, you know, it was basically go online or be homeless. Like,
Lose your job.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's most of my business. Like I have athletes around the world and it's like, we do it all through our training app.
Yeah.
So it's
Awesome.
like, they've got the videos and they've got everything directly through the app to like build the training program. And then they have 24/7 access to me. So it's like, it might not always be face-to-face, but it's like, you can still come to me, talk through things. Like the coaching side is still there. It's just there in a little bit of a different way.
I like that.
awesome.
Man. Divide and conquer, man.
Yeah. So no matter where you are.
Makes it easy.
Exactly, right? Reach out to Coach Dusseault, man. Coach_Dusseault at Instagram and SPM. I'll let you take it off from here, man.
Yeah, man. Last question. Who should be our next guest on this podcast? And obviously, once you say that person, or it could be more than one, you got to have to hook us up.
Oh man, that's a good question. I got a lot of athletes in town here that I think would be really good people for this. Oh, next one. And I'm assuming you guys are mostly in person, like you guys are doing them like sitting down face to face.
You can do both.
If they're in like Russia, it doesn't matter, you know. Again, it's COVID, man. We all adjusted. We can do Zoom too.
Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question, man. I got so many athletes. I want to just drop all of them.
Like I said, it's more than one is fine.
The guys in Canada or like even just in the area, man. This one's getting me. It's
the hardest
One question, exactly right.
The hardest
you can
question.
You can talk strength and
Dude, it
conditioning.
is 100%.
The answer.
It is 100%, right? But honestly, like the guys that are in town, I think like any one of them would be fantastic guests for you guys. Because it's just like it's all different perspectives on the fight game. One, like a couple that come to mind right away. Tim Smith, he's one of my athletes here. Like his shirt's up on the wall over there. Shady Time.
Lady time.
Yeah, he's been around MMA forever. Like he started like 20 years ago.
Oh, damn.
Still fighting. Like
Damn.
yeah, and like he's got a cool background, and like I think he'd be able to give you guys a lot of really good insight. Mac Larson, like my first fighter that I started working with, he'd be a really good one for sure.
Hell yeah.
Started fighting when he was like 16, and now he's pretty close to the UFC. So like that'd be a cool story. John Nguyen would be another one guy in town. I don't know if you guys know him.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And then John Moore, actually the other guy with the name up there, really good head on his shoulders. Like he's like, I started working with him when he was 22 and like already just way more dialed in than most guys that are at the top level already.
Yeah.
So it's like any one of those guys, like, man, I could tell you any of my athletes. But those guys off the top of my head would be three really good ones for sure. Give you a lot of really good insight into the fight game overall, and then just, good conversations too. So
We'll be hearing from them.
Yeah, we'll be reaching out. We'll see you guys soon.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, again, thank you so much for welcoming us to your facility and spending some time with us too, giving us free game. Because like we always say, we get the information first before they all do. Right?
Hell yeah.
So again,
Maybe unless they already got some.
one or two of
That's
them
the
on
cheat
it.
code.
yeah, that's the
one or
cheat
two of
code.
them.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's a cheat code right there. But again, thank you so much. We do really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And until next time, guys, my name is MP.
My name is SB, and we have.
Can he do so?
Hey, there you go.
And we're out.
Peace.